is the Bottom Line Podcast. I'm Jimmy Finizzi alongside Neil Villapiano. We hope you're doing well. As always, thank you so much for taking some time out of your day to listen to us. We really do appreciate it. Before we get started, as always, questions, opinions, you know the deal, and I'm sure there's going to be a ton of opinions on this at Bottomline WMCX, at the NVP Show. Use the hashtag Bottomline. Don't forget to leave a voice message on Anchor as well. You know how to do that. And don't forget to subscribe on YouTube, Apple, Google, and Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts. Just search for the Bottomline Podcast, but please include my first name, Jimmy. So, Neil, first of all, new week. How are you and your family doing?
We're doing well. It's obviously, considering the fact that you're starting to see cases skyrocket in certain areas, and obviously being in New Jersey, luckily for us in the county that we live in, we've only had 2 positive cases in the last 24, 48 hours. So
yeah, thank God.
Thank God. For now, I mean, obviously considering the fact that things are opening again and all that, and people are ignoring, what our health officials and our quote unquote leaders, unless you don't count the guy in the head office in DC, they're just not listening. So it's a difficult situation. It's a difficult situation because you're worried about going backwards, taking 1 step forward, 2 steps back, basically. But other than that, keeping spirits high. Before we jumped on here, I said I was feeling really good. I was feeling motivated. I was feeling, amped up. I'm ready to tackle the world this week. So it's going to be a long but very hopefully very productive week for me and my family this week. What about you?
Yo, absolutely. I'm 100% with you. I'm feeling fantastic this week. I'm the same as you.
Yep.
But, obviously, our thoughts and prayers go out to those states being affected. And considering the fact that now I wish no harm on the states, but now they know what New York and New Jersey went through in the tri-state area in regards to COVID. But I just have 3 simple words. Wear a mask. It's not difficult, people. This is what happens when you don't wear a mask.
Well, it's not just wearing a mask. It's also about...
I'm sorry, and I don't wish harm, but just wear a mask. What is so difficult about that? Seriously.
It's not only just wearing a mask, it's also, continuing to practice social distancing. And understand that, this is what I would say. There is nothing wrong necessarily with hanging out with people. You just have to find places that are actually going to be a lot safer. So here's an example. If you hang out with your friends like once a week or even once every other week, and you're only going to someone's backyard and just sitting in their backyard for a couple hours,
that's fine.
The chances of getting the disease, or if you somehow have it with the antibodies spreading it to someone else, is probably not as bad as if you go to a place like the Headliner in Neptune, where there's 800 so people that are just consistently ignoring everything. What really boggles my mind.
By the way, Neptune, New Jersey, by the way, for those who don't live in New Jersey.
Yeah, but the thing that boggles my mind the most is simply that people are acting like either A, the virus never existed, or B, that it no longer exists. And those could be those could not be further from the truth. I mean, the reality is that this thing still exists. We still have people in the hospital getting this virus, and, whether, maybe we're not seeing as many deaths, which is phenomenal. We're still getting people
thank God.
Right.
Absolutely.
We're still getting people, who, get the virus and things like that. And look, the minute that you step outside and you go somewhere, whether it's taking a walk or going to the grocery store, or something like that, you're at risk. I mean, you can wear a mask and wear gloves and consistently be, practicing the correct things. But obviously the best thing to do is to stay home as much as you can. And I know it's tough for people our age because we struggle more with not being social with other people, in person. It's one thing to constantly, like you and I do, where we've been, podcasting and, video chatting, twice a week, every week. It's different when you're actually, next to the person and you're physically, with them. There's a different aspect.
Which by the way, we haven't done an episode physically together since the beginning of March.
Yeah, I was going to say it's probably
Really let that sink in.
Yeah, I think we're pushing about 4 months since the last time we were actually physically together doing an episode. You know, that shows you how much times have changed quite a bit. But you know, it's a tough time. Like I mentioned, it's a tough time for all of us. And look, I'm not going to be the one to say to people, hey, don't go and see other people, because I'm not going to lie. I have done it already since since it's happened, but that doesn't mean that I haven't also been trying to take precautions.
No, yeah.
Like, at the end of the day, it's my decision to do whether to go out, whether I want to or not. And people can obviously tell me whether it's good or not, but you know, it's my choice to make the decision as to whether I want to do it or not. And it's all about, to me, it's all about the comfortability of myself and also the people that I surround myself with. So being in the household, it's like, okay, you know, do I try to go out as much as possible? No. I mean, obviously I would if we were in normal times, but we're not. We haven't been since, you know, early March. That's without a doubt. The tough part right now is that a lot of people, I think, would feel that there isn't really an end point to this, that we're just going to be constantly stuck in this for a very long time. And I don't think that's really true. I think that we'll eventually find a vaccine. It's just going to take a long time, because here's the thing. The first objective is that we're trying to contain the virus itself. We're trying to slow down the cases so that the people who are in charge of finding a vaccine all over this country and all over the world, basically, to give them more opportunities and more time to find a vaccine so that they're not overwhelmed. It's easier in other countries that we've seen, in Italy, in Spain, in the UK, in France, and it's easier because they have been able, in one degree or another, been able to contain it. It's been easier for them to get everybody to cooperate. And you can see that they're slowly opening up businesses, but not before, you know, they've done a lot of, you know, being prepared and everything. And that's why, you know, in New Jersey, Governor Murphy just announced yesterday that we were originally supposed to have indoor, you know, dining for 25% capacity starting on Thursday.
But now that's not happening, because he's been seeing what's been going on with indoor dining in now the new hotspots, Florida, Texas, and,
that's the thing.
And Arizona. And he said, nope, we're not doing that right now. So in my opinion, it's the unfortunate but the right call. But I will give him credit. He actually is watching the other states and seeing what they're doing and saying, hey, we're not going to be like these other states. We've taken this seriously since the beginning, probably since the beginning of March, when the height of the pandemic hit. And he said, look, we're not going to be like the other states. We're taking this as seriously as possible so we can see the light at the end of the tunnel. And look how far it's gotten us. Look how far it's gotten New York. Look how far it's gotten around the whole tri-state area. Not so much the other states. And again, I wish nothing but the best for them. I really hope they get through this. But again, this is what happens when you don't wear a mask. That is the bottom line of what we're trying to say.
Yeah, no, I mean, that was kind of like the last point that I wanted to make, that, you know, we're in a situation where we're living in an area where a lot of people from other states come and spend time down by the shore. I mean, people want to come to the beach. So we get a lot of what is called bennies, or I think also another term was called shoebies that I just literally found out a couple weeks ago.
That's a thing?
Apparently so. I'm not as ingrained in the culture as maybe some other people my age, but no, you know, we get people from Pennsylvania, Delaware, New York, you know, upstate New York City, you know, places, and they're coming here and taking up the parking spots, taking up the beaches and everything. So let's just be a little bit fair and say, look, not every single reason that New Jersey has gotten more cases is primarily because people in the state are not listening. I mean, there are people in the state that are not listening, clearly, but there's also a lot of people from other states that are coming here that see the opportunity to go to bars and do things like that. And they're like, well, why don't we just come here and do it here? And it's like, well, what happens is that you're spreading the virus even more to a place that was already dealing with it. As Governor Murphy said on Good Morning, I think it was Good Morning New York today, he was literally on this morning and said, look, New Jersey's been through hell.
I think it was Good Morning America, right?
Good Morning America. It was one of them. But he said, look, New Jersey's been through hell. And, we're trying to not continue to be in hell. We're trying to move forward. And what angers me is that there are so many people on social media and in general that just want to constantly badmouth Governor Murphy all the time, call him a socialist, call him the next Hitler, things like that. Like I've seen it, and I'm not going to try to sugarcoat it because it's true. And if you don't believe me, literally just go on social media and look, you'll see it. It's social media has given us the opportunity to see these things, happening all the time. And they're saying, oh, why can't we open up gyms? Why can't we do this? And it's like, well, it's primarily because we already have the facts that the virus spreads through water droplets, and gyms are not prepared for that type of thing. They're not prepared for that. So I'm sorry if you are somebody that goes to a gym. You can work out in many other ways. My own brother works out at home in his room all the time. He's made it possible.
That's exactly what I've been doing for the past
easy. Like, it's really not that hard. It really, really isn't that hard. And, it's just one of those things. But here's the thing. We have a president that has basically tried to make this entire virus a joke. That's even now, knowing that it's real, knowing that it's affected so many, he continues to make it a joke. So a lot of people are going to ignore the people that say, don't do this, don't do that, and look at our president and say, well, if he's saying we could do this and do that, why should we listen to you? The reality is that there are a lot of people that just don't want to be told what to do. That's just basically it. So they're going to go against the system. They're going to go against everything that makes logical sense, and they're going to put themselves and other people at harm. Because guess what? It's not just the worry about getting people that you know and you love affected. It's also about spreading it to people that you don't know, that you'll probably never figure out that you actually spread the virus to them, and then they get infected. They could get severely sick, could possibly die, and you won't even realize it. And it's a frustrating cycle. Now, do I sound a little bit hypocritical because I've gone out several times with people? Yes, I do sound very hypocritical, and I'm going to admit that. But I also will state this. I have continued to listen to the rules even when I've gone out. I've kept the mask on. Do I always wear gloves? I would say 95% of the time I do.
Yeah,
95%. There are times where I don't because in situations it's like, do I really need to wear gloves? Do I not? Like, it's one of those things. But wearing a mask, as we've been told 100 times, is the most important thing. And the way that we look at it is simply this. People look at it and say, well, it's not a rule, it's a suggestion. No, it's not a suggestion. It's actually a rule that you need to follow. Now, people look at it and say, well, it's not a rule because there are no punishments for it. There are punishments. You just have to really look. So my example is this. What you're seeing with Governor Murphy saying we're not going to be doing indoor dining right now, that is a punishment. That is a punishment for what's going on. And if it continues to get worse, which in all signs point to that there's a good chance it could get worse, we're going to eventually have a situation where everything will have to reclose. And how are people going to react to that? A lot of people are going to be angry. A lot of people are going to want to blame Murphy for it. A lot of people are going to want to blame, a lot of different things instead of looking themselves in the mirror and say, did I 110% follow the guidelines that were given to me? Was I fair to it? And the reality is that there's going to be a lot of people that will say no. They won't. And that's just a very, very, very sad situation to be in. And here's another thing that I want everybody to just understand with what's going on is that there are a lot of people, especially our age, that do not have jobs. Maybe they had a job and maybe they got let go. I'm not going to say fired because, again, to me, in this pandemic, nobody has gotten fired. Everybody's been let go. The virus has forced this situation in many different ways for people to lose jobs. And a lot of people look at it and say, when is it going to be time when I'm actually going to be able to go and get a job and actually start continuing to make a living? Especially people that are graduating from college this year. It's like they went through 4 years of trying to get an education, trying to get a degree, and now they don't really have an opportunity at the moment to make a living. So what are they going to do? So there's a lot of people out there that say, what is the point? Like, a lot of people think that they're just going to die anyway, so they're just going to go out and break all of the guidelines and break all of the rules because they just flat out don't care. And do you sympathize with those people a little bit? Yeah, but to an extent. You also have to understand and say, look, there is light at the end of the tunnel. It's just not there right now. But you have to understand and keep a positive note and be optimistic and say, we're eventually going to get through this. We've gotten through a lot worse. We've gone through a lot worse in our history of this world. I'm not just talking about the United States. I'm talking about the world. We've gone through a lot. We've gone through several world wars. We've gone through other pandemics. We've done a lot, okay? So there's always been light at the end of the tunnel. There was always an end point. This is not something that for the next 400,000 years is going to continue to be a problem. I think eventually the pandemic, the COVID-19, it will be just like another type of sickness that people get, that you'll just have to get a flu shot, a flu shot-like shot every single year. You know, we have shots for like, you know, getting the mumps. We have shots for getting, you know, to prevent you from getting the flu. You know, we have different things like that. I think there will eventually be a situation where COVID will just become part of a typical, you know, type of sickness that you would get, you know, through your life, or you could possibly get. I'm not saying that, you know, everybody's going to get it at one point or another, but I'm saying that we'll eventually find a vaccine, and people want so badly for the vaccine to come out like that. The reality is that, and I've looked at all of the studies, on average, it takes about a year to find a legitimate vaccine, because what people don't realize is that we have to go through it like this. You find something that could be a vaccine. It has to go through multitudes of tests. The FDA has to approve it, and then you start giving it to people. And then it's about how many for this area, how many for that area, how many for that area. And that's just the thing. And the sad part is this. We have a president that is trying to prevent people from getting tested. So what does he do? He does stuff like making it $75 to go get tested for COVID-19. Or you take the other route of going to a place where they do free testing, but it makes it impossible to set up an appointment for you to actually go get it. So just like with the voting, whether it's voting in the primary or voting for president or whatever the case may be, all they're doing is discouraging people from it so that the numbers are in the favor of the people in the higher ups so that they can keep their jobs, they can keep their money, and things like that. Like, it's all just a scam at the end of the day. And it's really discouraging. It's really sad at the end of the day. I mean, let's be honest, in this situation right now, who wants to pay $75 to go get a COVID test? There are a lot of people that will, but it's a joke that we have to even do that. It really is sad. So my whole thing with this whole virus is simply this. Look, number one, just wear a mask, man. It really ain't that hard. Like, it's not. You know, and you can buy masks that are really cool looking. Like, I have this one, and I don't know if people are going to be able to see it that well.
If they're not watching on YouTube. Ooh,
so I have this. You know, cool. Yeah, no, it's cool. Like, it's a thing that, like, you could put, like, as, like, a scarf, and, like, you just put it up here and things like that. I also, you know, my girlfriend got me a devil's mask from Etsy, which is cool. You know, I love it. And, like, you know, shout out to her for doing it. You know, it's stuff like that. And I don't mind wearing a mask at somebody's house. Like, I really don't. Like, I don't really care. You know, are there times where I just want to, like, pull it down for a second and breathe fresh air for like 5 seconds? Yeah. I mean, I might do that, and then I'll just put it back on, and that'll be the end of it. Like, have I gotten used to wearing it at a grocery store or things like that? Absolutely. Like, it's not like, at times now, I don't even care. Like, I guarantee you the first time I go to a grocery store without a mask, like, and it'll be legal for me to do so, it'll be really weird. Like, I'll feel kind of naked without it. Like, I'll be like, you know, it'll just be weird. But that's just like the new norm that we're dealing with now, ladies and gentlemen. And so that's the thing. Just wear a mask, number one. Number two, if you are going to go out with friends, this is my suggestion to you. Try to plan things where you're in one place and one place only. Like, you're not going to any other place. And if you're going to go to a place, try to do it at someone's house. Like, in someone's backyard. Don't go in the house. Just stay in the backyard and do it that way. Because if you're wearing a mask, like if everybody's wearing a mask, you're in the backyard and you're with only 3 or 4 people, you know, you are continuing to decrease the chances of you getting the virus. If you have it already, spreading it to someone else. And if you contract it, spreading it to other people. And also, let me be clear on this as well. If you do go out, the minute you come home, I don't care what time.
Shower immediately.
You take off your clothes, you put them in the wash machine, you go take a shower, and you clean up. That's what you do. Because immediately you can start killing the virus right away, and you decrease even more. Because look, I'm just going to give you guys just a little bit of positivity with the virus. And I apologize that this is going on for almost a half hour, by the way.
Don't worry about it.
I just want people to understand. I want people to listen. Like, actually use your 2 ears and listen, okay? here's the thing. What are the chances for most people to get the virus? For most people, it's less than 1%, okay?
Right.
And we've had less than 1% of the population get the virus already, okay? But that doesn't mean that this is still not a big threat. It is, okay? It still is. Thousands of people have gotten it, and even more thousands of people have gotten it and then ended up dying from it, okay? So this is no joke, but it's less than 1%. So is it something that you should 110% panic about? No, because if you panic about it, all you're going to do is make yourself miserable.
Thank you.
You just have to realize that all you have to do is just realize it's still there. You have to listen to what the precautions are, and you got to follow them. You do that, you're fine. Like, you're totally fine. And if you still get it, the chances of you then getting it really badly and getting sick and having to go to the hospital is even less than 1%. And the chances of you dying is even less than that.
Yep.
But if you're somebody like, my father has, diabetes, and he's in that 60-year-old range, so he's much more sensitive to the virus than a lot of other people. Again, it's still less than 1% for him because of just what we know, what the facts are on the ground. So all you got to do is just simple stuff. Like, we're not asking you to move, heaven and earth here, okay? We're asking you, and I'm saying we, I mean, our country, or, let's kind of bring it down a little bit more.
On behalf of us, just wear a mask.
Just wear a mask, bro. Like, wear a mask. Like, dude, you could be creative with it. You can still, do things with a mask. Just freaking wear it, man. It's really not that hard. And if you're at home, you don't have to.
Yep.
At home, it's not like we're telling you 24/7, 365, wear a mask. No. We're saying that when you go out, no matter what you're doing, whether you're going to someone's house, whether you're going to the grocery store, whether you're actually even at times just taking a walk, just wear it, because it's better to be safe than sorry, okay? It really is. And that goes for everybody, and not just the regular Joe Schmoes of the world, but, we're talking about essential workers. I mean, they obviously have to do it. That's the rule for them, plain and simple. But, professional athletes, come on, man. You guys got to do it. Don't make a joke about this. People look up to you. Don't make a joke about this right now, especially with what's going on in Florida and Nevada and Arizona, places where we're considering to possibly have the return of sports. Got to be careful. Really got to be careful. So just do that, man. Don't be an asshole about this. I apologize for my language, but don't be an asshole. Just don't. Don't act like the man that is in charge of the country right now. Don't act like him. Don't be like him. Just listen. Just take in everything that people are telling you and just look at the facts on the ground and go from there. And if you're still not listening, then all I can say is, you're an adult. You can make your own decisions. And I wish nothing but, good health, even making a poor decision like that, in my opinion.
Yep. So, yeah, we do apologize for rambling on about that, but we figured if other sports stations are talking about this, why can't we? But bottom line, again, please wear a mask and be careful. Now we can finally get into what we really wanted to discuss, which probably angered both of us, Neil, more so you than me, the NHL draft lottery. Now, which I have, by the way, in case anybody is watching on YouTube, I have the, results. No, right, yes. If you're not watching on YouTube, Neil has the background with how. And we'll also, if you're not watching on YouTube, we'll go through it in just a moment. If you are watching on YouTube, you can see it, so it'll be a little bit easier. But for those that are not, we'll go through it for you in case for some reason you missed it. I don't know why you would miss it, because it was all over the NHL world. Because I'm just going to come out and flat out say it. The NHL draft lottery is it's rigged. It's an absolute scam. So in case you didn't know how it went down, the NHL deputy commissioner basically said, "Oh, I have 8 cards to start the night," and right then and there, I was like, "Oh boy, we're gonna have problems here." So after he says that, he goes through the order which teams are gonna pick. So here's where we stand right now: Buffalo at 8. Devils at 7, Anaheim at 6. Okay, no issues there. Ottawa at 5. Okay, you can definitely say something about that. But here's where things here's where things really sort of got under my skin. how the hell did the Detroit Red Wings, who, by the way, had the worst record in the National Hockey League and were not even trying to lose, get 4? How did they get 4? They basically got kicked to the place where the sun don't shine and did not get the number 1 pick. They got kicked in the groin, all right? Detroit got screwed. Then you have number 3, which is Ottawa again, because they got that pick from when they traded Erik Karlsson to San Jose. So they got the 3rd overall pick. And by the way, you can also make an argument that Ottawa is a loser in this, because not only do you have 2 opportunities to land the 1st overall pick, you don't even get it. You don't even get it. It doesn't make any sense. Ottawa gets 5 and 3. The big winner here, in my opinion, one of them is LA. They jumped to 2. That is a big, that is
not winners. Are you kidding me?
In my opinion, it is, because it makes their draft pool so much deeper than that. But we'll get to that a little bit.
They have no draft pool in general.
Oh my God!
It doesn't make them deeper. Hold on. Let me just say this: the Kings have nobody. Okay, the Kings have no prospects, and I'll tell you why. It's because they built their team for that 2012 and 2014 Stanley Cups, and they have done nothing to improve the team, okay? That's why guys like Jeff Carter, Drew Doughty, Dustin Brown, and Jonathan Quick are still there. The only guy that's worth anything right now is Anze Kopitar, who, in my opinion, should go to another team where he's going to be honored a lot more, because, frankly, I feel like he's been disrespected. He's one of the most underrated players in the National Hockey League, and me as a Devils fan, I would die to have a guy like Anze Kopitar on my team.
Absolutely.
This is a guy who has gotten screwed over for winning the Selke Award only because Patrice Bergeron is so damn good at what he does. But if Patrice Bergeron wasn't doing what he was doing, Anze Kopitar would have 2 or 3 Selke trophies right now. But the reason is 2 reasons. 1, he plays in LA, and 2, the fact that Patrice Bergeron is just that really good at being a two-way centerman. But that's just me. But no, did the Kings win? The Kings won because they moved up in the draft. I mean, that happens every year. That should come as no surprise. At least one team moves up several spots. Look at Chicago last year. Chicago was at what, 13?
Yeah.
And they moved to 3?
Yep.
I mean, that was the most ridiculous. How that? Like, I was like, when that happened, I was saying to people, I said, bro, Chicago about to get the number 1 overall pick, and they're not even trying. They weren't even trying to stink. It was just ridiculous. But they didn't, so that's that.
Yep,
but anyway,
absolutely.
Just wanted to say.
Like I said, same with Detroit. They weren't trying to lose. They just flat out sucked this year.
They just really
still
sucked.
didn't get the number 1 overall pick. Like, are you kidding me right now?
But anyway. I thought it was going to be rigged for the Red. I mean, you couldn't even rig it for the Red Wings. All you had to do was basically just give them the number 1 overall pick. It made too much sense. You're an original 6 franchise. You went 22 consecutive seasons of making the playoffs. You won multiple Stanley Cups. Like, it's all set up. It's so that because I thought the NHL could not stomach having one of their original 6 teams be this putrid. You would have thought that they would have given them a break and said, okay, we'll give you the number 1 overall pick, because Detroit and Ottawa are the 2 teams that desperately needed the number 1 overall pick. Well, maybe not desperately. Detroit, yes. Desperately, yes. Ottawa, not as much, because Ottawa has been building a really solid team full of young, talented players. The fact that they have 2 top 5 picks is still very good for them.
Right.
I mean, they were going to get 2 top 5 picks regardless of what was going to happen. I just thought that they were going to get, at least 1 and maybe 3. For me, the best case scenario with Ottawa was going to be they get the number 1 overall pick, they get, possibly number 2,
right.
And then with that Islanders pick they got from the, in the trade for John Gabriel Pajot, they get like 4. So how cool would that have been? You get 1, 2, and 4. You get 3 of the top 4 prospects in the NHL draft. That would have been great. But of course, because it's Ottawa, they don't get no love, and so they get screwed.
Yep, absolutely. A bunch of teams got sandbagged. And then you get to number 1, and the deputy commissioner of the NHL says, oh, it's going to be a play-in team. So in other words, a team that is going to lose in the play-in round, if and when the NHL returns, a team that loses in that play-in round is going to get the number 1 overall pick. I mean, are you absolutely kidding me right now? This whole thing, this whole system that the NHL has right now for the lottery is an absolute disgrace, and it needs to be changed. Because I'm telling you right now, and I was actually having an argument with some Ranger fans, and I am a New York Rangers fan, that are saying, oh, now we actually want to get the number 1 overall pick. We should probably lose to Carolina. Are you smoking something right now? Like, seriously.
No.
I am a Rangers fan. I'm telling you right now, I do not want the number 1 overall pick. I don't want it. I do not want it whatsoever, because here's the thing. What has it proved? What has it proved 50% of the time? 50% of the time it proves nothing. Nothing. You can't automatically assume that the number 1 overall pick is going to be some godlike human being who's going to score 50-plus goals a year.
Unless your name is Connor McDavid or Austin
that.
Matthews.
So,
I mean, unless you're Connor McDavid or Austin Matthews.
or
Mario Lemieux, or a bunch of others.
He's an exception. But bottom line is, Rangers fans, listen to me. I would rather win the Stanley Cup. I would rather lose further in the playoffs or win the Stanley Cup than lose in a play-in round, for God's sake, and get the number 1 overall pick. That's not going to prove anything. The Rangers are a solid enough team. They don't need the number 1 overall pick. They don't need it. So please, stop the nonsense, please. I mean, it really is unbelievable. So anyway, after all that, now we find this out. And
wait, can I make a comment about that?
Sure, go ahead. Go.
All right, so look, I get where you're coming from. Like, I really do. I really, really do. And like, if could the Rangers win their play-in round and then just go all the way and win the cup this year? Absolutely. Would it have been worth it? Absolutely. 100%. Okay. But let me just throw some facts on the ground here right now. Is there a 100% chance that the season is still going to be finished? No. I give it a 25% chance because, number one, several of the cities that have been mentioned as hub cities are in dire straits when it comes to the amount of cases. Las Vegas is in the same county that is considered to be the highest county for new cases, okay? So if anybody thinks that Vegas is going to end up being one of the 2 hub cities, right now I think that that's very unlikely. And the fact that we are now, I'm going to be honest, we are in the beginning stages of the second wave of this thing. And remember, we're in late June. This is June 30th, and we're already in the second wave. That should put a lot of concern and a lot of fear in a lot of people, okay? I'm sorry, but that's just the reality of it. And we were already hearing about, if we cannot finish the season, the teams that were not in the playoff in the top 8 when the season ended will then be put in that lottery and all have a 12.5% chance of getting the number 1 pick. 12.5, which is a ridiculous amount, I might add. I just want to say that. Ridiculous amount. I look at it this way. Nobody's going to be – we're not starting the 2020-21 season until December.
Right.
At least for right now. That's what we expect, right? We expect that. If you're a team and you just saw that the number 1 overall pick is going to be by a play-in team, and you know that there's a good chance you may not finish the season anyway – you might as well go after that number 1 overall pick because you will have a lot more of an opportunity to make your team even better and also give your team a better chance to rest and let this whole pandemic play out, okay? Just understand that. Look, the Rangers could just get the number 1 overall pick because they can't even finish the play-in round, okay? So you wouldn't even get mad at the NHL for that, okay? Because you just wouldn't. But here's the thing that you just, as a Devils fan, obviously the Devils haven't won the Cup since 2003. I understand that. Would I be in that? How would I feel if I was in the Rangers position? Well, I would kind of feel in the same way that, you have one of two. You are in a can't lose situation, Jimmy. Understand that. Because here's why. You either make the playoffs, which is awesome because that continues the progression of the rebuild of the Rangers, or you actually have a legitimate shot of getting. Oh, and by the way, the Rangers were one of the teams that was in that 12, 13 spot already, so they have a higher chance than a lot of other teams of getting the number 1 overall pick. So you're in a situation where Your consolation prize for getting knocked out of the play-in round is the chance to have the number 1 overall pick. Now, is there still the possibility that you may not get it? Without a doubt. Could you get screwed and drop down to like 15? Absolutely. There's no question about that. But there is still that possibility, and that's why it's hard for a lot of Rangers fans to be in one way or the other, because it's just one of those things. But shout out to the NHL for once again seeing the opportunity that it had and totally kicking everyone else in the groin that was screwed.
Yep.
Why in the hell were this many teams who are going to be playing still given the opportunity to get the number 1 overall pick?
It's
the
an
team that ended up getting the freaking number 1 overall pick had a 2.5% chance.
Which is also
2.5% chance of getting the number 1 overall pick. It is a joke. The NHL has once again, just when you thought they couldn't screw themselves, right? We were all talking about they're doing a really good job. They're putting themselves in a good position to gain some new fans. They do some bullshit like this.
Yep.
They do. And this is awesome. I love it. I love it. And you could see how much I really love it. I mean, I love it when the NHL always wants to make sure that big-name franchises get what they want. So what do I mean by that? Well, the Rangers could get the number 1 overall pick, and that's in New York City.
Montreal could get it.
Montreal could get it, which is, I don't really care. Like everybody else has a problem with it, I don't.
The
I really
Islanders
don't.
could get it.
Pittsburgh, with Crosby, Malkin, all of the BS luck they've had in their entire history of their damn franchise, could also get Lafreniere? Really? Really? So wouldn't it be more interesting for the Penguins, who were one of the teams bitching and moaning about playing the Canadiens in the first round?
Yep.
Wouldn't it be in their best interest to just lose so that they could get the number 1 overall pick? Yeah, I'd say so. So you know what? This is just classic NHL. The minute that they said that there were 8 cards is the minute that we all knew that this was rigged. It was rigged, and I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear that it wasn't rigged. It was totally rigged. If it wasn't rigged, this is how there are 2 ways you could have said this was rigged. Number 1, a mystery team gets the number 1 overall pick. Number 2, the Devils got the number 1 overall pick. That was the only way, because if the Devils had gotten it, that's 2 years in a row and 3 of the last 4 years. That would have been rigged. Right. I would have even said it. As a Devils fan, I'd be like, yeah, it's rigged. I don't know why it's rigged this way, but it is. But the minute that you saw the Kings got the 2nd overall pick, first of all, as a Devils fan, yes, they didn't get the first pick. I'm fine with it. They don't deserve anything, in my opinion. Oh. But the fact that you said when the NHL decided that it made that whole thing on NBCSN announcing that they were returning, and they talked about the lottery and talked about that if it goes to if a play-in team gets the number 1 overall pick, we go into a phase 2. Right then and there, you knew that was going to happen. We all knew it. We talked about it for weeks. We knew this was going to happen. We knew we were going to be in this situation. I actually was expecting 2 play-in teams to get 2 of the top 3 picks, okay? This was honestly the worst case scenario, because a team like the Red Wings, who wasn't even trying to tank, okay? They weren't saying we're tanking. They're trying so hard to just be competitive, end up with the worst record in the NHL, and they get screwed. Ottawa had a rough season. Probably deserved to get a top 3 pick, and yeah, they did, okay? But with San Jose's pick, not even their own pick dropped to 5. Can you imagine if they only had 1 pick?
Right.
Can you imagine? Think about that. Think about if San Jose still had their first round pick. They would have gotten the top 3 pick.
Yep.
They weren't even that bad. They weren't that bad. They just had so many injuries. That was their excuse. Anaheim, okay, fine. They moved down to 6 from 5. The Devils moved from 6 to 7, and Buffalo moved from 7 to 8. So right. Anaheim, New Jersey, and Buffalo. Nobody can say that they got screwed. No. Nobody.
No.
Everybody was projecting 6, 7, 8. That was the 3 spots. What was the worst case scenario for the Devils? They dropped to 9. That was the worst case, but it didn't happen. They dropped to 7. Fine. If we'd gotten the first overall pick or moved up at all, that would have been a win for us. Absolute right. W. Same thing with Anaheim and Buffalo. Would have been a dub. Wasn't going to happen. It wasn't until you got to the top 5 is when things got really messed up. And that's what it is. And think about it this way. LA, big market. They got the number 2 overall pick. You think that was on purpose? Absolutely. It was totally on purpose.
What?
Absolutely.
Come on.
Jimmy, you have to remember that the league is trying to help the big market teams. This is why small markets cannot stay consistently good. They're good for 1 or 2 years, and then they don't do well anymore. Why do you think Arizona has had 1 good season in their entire history of their existence? And why after 2012 they haven't done anything?
And by the way, God forbid if Arizona gets the number 1 pick.
I don't care.
God forbid. Like, is anybody
here's
care?
the thing. I care from the standpoint of that means that we don't get their first-round pick this year. Okay? And I would like to have 3 first-round picks this year. I would. But if we don't, so be it. It is what it is. That's the rule. Taylor Hall is a draft lottery god. But that also looks bad on him. Because that's like what, the 4th or 5th time that the team he's been on gets the first overall pick?
Yep.
That means you've been on some pretty bad teams, and that's coming from a Devils fan. I'm just saying, this is not really a good look.
You're not wrong.
You know, could Vancouver get the first? I don't even know how it would feel. I would actually laugh my ass off if it was Vancouver. I'd be like, really? Like, I wouldn't be mad. I'd be like,
out of all teams, look, Vancouver. Really?
There was one team. There was one playing team that could get the number 1 overall pick, and not a single person is going to get mad, and that's the Minnesota Wild. They've never had – dude, if they got it, how many people are going to get mad? Nobody.
I wouldn't be mad.
No. Would it help them? Absolutely. Yes. It would definitely make them a much better team. But again, we don't know how good Alexis Frenier is going to be in the National Hockey League. Everyone thought Jack Hughes was going to put up 100 points this year, and it didn't happen, okay? He had a tough year. He hasn't even finished his rookie year, so he's still a rookie if you really think about it. But, you know, we have to wait and see. But the fact that you put a play-in team, a team that's going to get a chance to play in a couple weeks, over 7 teams that will not play till at least December is a crime and is a classic NHL move. It's a classic move. This is why I applaud the NBA, because this is what the NBA did for those of you that don't know. The NBA said, basically, no matter what you do in the 8 games before the playoffs, whatever your record was on March 11th, which was when the NBA was put on pause, is your record going into the lottery. Right. So you can't just lose the last 8 games and give yourself a higher chance. They're also waiting for the lottery. They're waiting to start it after the 8 games are played, so that we already know who the teams are. We don't have to have a stupid phase 2. This is ridiculous. So the NHL saw this as an opportunity. They said, ooh, we have this new lottery format. We could have a phase 2. Let's make sure we have that phase 2. Let's make sure. Now we have a phase 2 of this stupid lottery, which we don't know when that's going to be.
And we don't even need it to begin with.
So, and look, is there a guarantee we will play at all? No. We could still not play. And then all those teams that didn't make the playoffs, guess what? They got a 12.5% chance to get the number 1 overall freaking pick.
12.5%.
12.5. And that's not just the Rangers. That's also the Islanders.
Yep.
I mean, I know as a Rangers fan, that would probably be the last team you'd like to see get the number 1 overall pick. Considering how good they've been building up, they also got John Gabriel. Think about it from Ottawa's standpoint, right? Ottawa's Islanders pick is top 3 protected. If the Islanders get the number 1 overall pick, the Senators get their pick next year, I believe.
Yes.
And basically what the Senators did is they traded John Gabriel Pagel, the number 1 overall pick, for nothing.
Yep.
They got nothing in return. How much BS is that? I mean, that's sad. The Senators and Red Wings weren't even trying to lose.
Nope.
It's not like we sit there and say, yeah, they definitely tried to lose and they failed. And
no, they just flat out sucked.
The Kings weren't trying to lose. Nobody in the bottom 7, right, was trying to lose. Okay, nobody said that the Devils had high expectations going into the year, and it all fell apart. The Ducks, I can't really speak on the Ducks. I mean, they still have some relatively decent players, so it's not like that. They just really, really were trying to lose. The Senators, no. The Red Wings, no. The Kings, no. Buffalo is 50-50 in my opinion, because you never know with Buffalo, all right? We never know, and it's unfortunate. But Buffalo is screwed no matter what. Buffalo continues to get screwed. They go from 7 to 8.
By the way, speaking of Buffalo, I heard reports that Jack Eichel apparently wants out. And I don't blame him, to be honest.
Who wants to play in Buffalo, yo?
Thank you. Exactly.
I mean, why do you think Ryan O'Reilly, Evander Kane, even Jason Pominville, why do you think those guys eventually left?
I forgot.
Why do you think they got traded? They don't want to be there. The Pagulas do not know how to run a hockey team. They do a relatively good job with the Bills. I'll give them that. They've done a really good job. They don't know how to. It's not that they don't care about the Sabres. They just don't know how to run the Sabres.
Yep.
So much so that they have fired so many of their employees. And then they made the mistake of firing somebody only to realize it a day later and then rehire the person.
And they just fired their GM.
How does this happen? At least you could say with Buffalo they have a GM. I can't speak for the Devils. I don't know when that's going to be. So at least they have a freaking GM.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't even know if they have a head coach. I'm talking about the Sabres. But
I don't know either. But
at the end, well, unfortunately, I think Buffalo is, it sucks because they're that New York team that people don't remember that they're in New York. Like, it's like we say, like, oh, no, there's 3 teams in New York. There's the Islanders, the Rangers, and Buffalo. I mean, it's just – I don't mean to be – I'm not going to say they're irrelevant because that's disrespectful.
No,
that's really disrespectful.
They're not irrelevant.
No team in the NHL is irrelevant. They say that they're irrelevant because people outside of where the team plays don't talk about them. There are some diehard Sabres fans, and I've met a bunch. There are some diehard Sabres fans, and they have been longing to be good again.
Yep.
They should bring back Lindy Ruff.
Oh.
He knew how to coach a Buffalo team.
Tremendous. That would be tremendous.
I don't know why Rangers fans seem to dislike Lindy Ruff. I've been hearing a lot of negative comments.
I don't understand it either. I think he's done a great job.
Unless he's in charge of the power play, which then I could kind of see what they're talking about because they're not very good on the power play. But that's
no, they're not. They're not. But that's another discussion.
But I hate when the NHL does some crap like this, man. I really do. And I knew that the Devils were not going to get screwed. The only way the Devils would get screwed is that they drop from 6 to 9. But even then, that's not getting screwed that much. It's like, okay, they dropped. Like, it sucks, but whatever. We're still getting a top pick. We could get 2 other first-round picks.
Right.
If we had gotten – because we were projected at 6. If we had gotten 5, 4, 3, 2, or God forbid the number 1 overall pick, we were awesome. Like, we were great. But because this class is so deep with talent – we're going to get really good players regardless of our positioning. It's just going to be about who's going to be available at number 7.
I've been hearing a lot about Lucas Raymond potentially landing in the Devil's lap, and he's.
There's also Holtz. There's Holtz.
Yeah, Holtz
we're wondering if Rossi could drop because also here's the thing: we don't have a combine, so and some of these guys didn't even finish their season.
Right.
So there's so much unknown that there's not going to be that much. I mean, we know that Lafreniere is going to be the number 1 overall pick. There is no debating that.
Right.
There really isn't. It's going to be about who follows him. Is Byfield going number 2? We don't know. Where's Rossi going? Where's Raymond? Where's Holtz? Where's Stützle? Stützle is the most fascinating player in my opinion. He really is. Like, I mean, it's one of those things where, like, he could go in the top 5. He could go in the top 10. Some people think he could go in the top 15. I don't know. He's going to be an intriguing prospect. So it'll be interesting to see where he goes.
We'll see.
We also have Ilyaslav Askarov, who's projected to be the best goaltending prospect in the last 10 years. That's saying a lot.
Yep.
We don't know where he's going. We don't know how many teams need a number 1 goaltender right away. We do not. I mean, we just don't. So it'll be interesting.
Yep. Yep, absolutely. But this whole system is just an absolute joke. I wish it didn't exist. It needs to be changed. And oh, by the way, Alexis Lafreniere is kind of a big winner in this, because not only does he not have to worry about, well, if that's the case, not only does he not have to go to any one of these teams and be the face of the franchise, but he can go to a playoff team and not have to worry about all the pressure. Not worry about the pressure that comes with being the number 1 overall pick. That is another reason why, as a Rangers fan, I do not want Alexis Lafreniere, because there's going to be too much pressure on him when you already have big-name guys who are doing very, very well, like Mika Zibanejad, Artemi Panarin, Tony DeAngelo. I can go on and on.
I would argue
you already have guys who are playing at MVP caliber levels. Why do you need this kid? I get it. He could be a big impact, but
dude, I'll tell you.
There's going to be too much pressure.
Okay, no, I'll explain to you. Lafreniere going to the Rangers, like, he would have big expectations because he's playing in New York. Like, that would be number 1. But I don't think from the team standpoint, he would be considered like the savior, because guess what? You just mentioned several guys that are already proven to be really good. You signed Artemi Panarin to that max deal. That was great. Should he be up for the Hart Trophy? Absolutely, 100%. He should definitely be consideration. I think that had we finished the regular season and the Rangers had gotten in the playoffs, just like Taylor Hall 2 years ago, I would have given Panarin the Hart Trophy. He just had a phenomenal year in his first. He's lived up to the hype.
Yep.
That's what's been.
Absolutely.
Mika Zibanejad, what a great job of getting him a couple years ago.
I think it's safe to say who won that trade. Sorry.
Yes, absolutely. You have Tony DeAngelo, that, albeit other than obviously his political stance on things, I think is a very good player. He needs to keep his mouth shut a lot of the time, but I'm not getting into that.
By the way, you should check out his podcast.
No, I'm not going to, because it sucks.
What?
I'm calling it out. It's not that good. Dude, it's just him saying the things that he would say already on Twitter. I don't listen to – I'm not a big – like, yeah, is he from South – is he a Jersey kid? Yeah, but, like, I'm not a big fan of Tony DeAngelo. And it's nothing to do with because he's on the Rangers.
Okay.
Because I've said it before. The Rangers have a lot of likable players. They even had them during their times when they were really good. Like, they had a lot of likable players. I just couldn't stand the fans. No offense, Jimmy.
Right. No, it's fine. It's fine.
You people have the right to get crapped on at times. You have 2 really good young goaltenders. You have Shesterkin and you have Georgiev. Which, can you please stop saying that you're going to trade Georgiev?
Yeah, please,
what is the point?
Please, where are you trading to?
Remember, the NHL is now in a situation in this time of the year, in this day and age, where you need to have 2 really solid goaltenders. Why would you want to keep Lundqvist for another year or 2? You're eventually going to have to get a backup. You already have one. Just buy out Lundqvist. Like, just do it. Just do it and end your own misery, because it's just ridiculous. Because it's not fair to you, and it's not fair to him. That's the way I look at it. It's just not fair. And I think you're going to see that happen. I really do. And the fact that we're discussing, are you going to play Shesterkin one game? Are you going to play Georgiev one game?
Just write out Shesterkin. He's been the hot man.
Like, the NHL said they can carry on as many goaltenders as they want, okay? So that's fine. Like, you could keep Lundqvist on the team. Just don't play him. Because no disrespect, I don't care about how he's done against Carolina. He's had a lot of time to sit around and not play. I wouldn't necessarily be excited for a guy at his age and with his skills already looking like they're deteriorating at times. It's a risk that I don't think is worth taking. But
and by the way, not to mention, if you do start him against Carolina after all this time not playing, considering the fact that he's had spurts where he hasn't played for weeks and months on end, if you start him against Carolina and they lose, people will go, well, look at the way he performed. It's all his fault. Well, it also doesn't help that he hasn't played for months.
Well, that's the problem.
Doesn't play around him anymore.
Well, that's the problem. That's the problem. They're going to play. But, there are other guys on this Rangers team that are very good. Pavel Buchnevich, Hedl, DiGiuseppe is decent. Jesper Fast, who I don't understand why he's not a top 6 forward. I don't get that.
Thank you.
He's very good. Brett Howden. Oh, and by the way, in case anybody forgot, the Rangers have the second overall pick, or had the second overall pick last year in draft Kaapo Kakko. Okay? Like, if you put, because Kaapo, if I'm mistaken, Kaapo is a winger, right?
Yes.
Right? Okay, cool. Who's the Rangers' number one centerman right now? Number one.
Because Zibanejad.
Zibanejad, right? Well, I thought it was a winger. Never mind. I don't really care.
He's a center.
Okay, I thought it was Strome for some stupid reason. I thought it was Strome.
It's all right.
I apologize, Ryan.
Although Strome's really good too. He's coming to.
And Strome has found new life playing with the Rangers. He's found new life. You could put freaking Lafreniere on the second line with Kaapo Kakko. The second line.
Yep.
The second line. Like, it's like the Devils. Like, you had a number one centerman in Nico Hischier. You drafted Jack Hughes. Now you have two really good, very young, guys that can play be your top two centermen. The Rangers could be in the same place. It makes a lot of sense. And guess what? Him being on the second line, he's going to get a lot better matchups. He's going to have a lot more success. So if you're the Rangers, honestly, Jimmy, just hear me out. If you get knocked out of the play-in round and you end up getting a number one pick, I can almost guarantee you're not going to be upset. I almost guarantee you won't be upset. You won't.
Yeah, we'll see.
You won't, because he's good. He's not going to come in. He doesn't have to be. The Rangers are already at a point where they're on the verge of being a consistent playoff contender, and then eventually another year or two a Stanley Cup contender. The rich get richer. That's the way I look at it. That's why the number one overall pick is by a play-in team. The rich get richer. The bigger markets are going to get another big-name player.
Well,
now,
it shouldn't have to come down to that in the first place. I'm sorry.
Of course. We already talked about that. It's ridiculous. But that's just how it goes because the NHL just wants it that way. So I'm done.
I mean, listen, would I be upset? Truthfully, I don't know. It all depends on how A, he does, and B, how the Rangers would do in the playoffs. Listen, I still don't want the number one overall pick, and you can call me out. I don't care. Kill me, tweet me, throw something at me next time I'm at MSG. I dare you. But
maybe we should start calling you a fraud.
Oh, stop. At least I'm not a fan of three teams. But that's another story for another day. But anyway, listen, do I agree with this format? Absolutely not. It's an absolute joke. A playoff team should not be getting a number one overall pick. I guess that's kind of the reason why I'm a little bit ticked off about it, because the Rangers are involved. I'm like, oh, the Rangers would get the number one overall pick? Really? But hey, listen, I could be wrong, and everything could be peachy king, hunky-dory, whatever the heck you say nowadays. But we'll see. We'll see how it all plays out. But the bottom line is this draft lottery was an absolute disgrace.
Dumpster fire.
It should be changed. A lot of teams got sandbagged, especially the Detroit Red Wings.
I wouldn't say a lot of teams
trying to lose.
I wouldn't say a lot of teams got sandbagged. It was just two. When you really think about it, it was just two.
Okay.
It was the Red Wings and the Senators got screwed. Because again, like I mentioned, LA moved up from 5 to 2.
Yes.
So good for them. And Anaheim, New Jersey, and Buffalo, all they did was move back one spot. And if they had moved back one spot because another team in the top 7 moved up, okay. Like, nobody's going to care.
Right.
But the issue that we're all angry about is the fact that a to-be-determined team is going to get the number one overall pick, and we don't know who that is. Yep. We don't even freaking know.
It's a disgrace, absolute disgrace. And on that note, that will wrap it up for this episode of the Bottom Line Podcast. If you have any thoughts on this, and if you want to crucify me for what I said about the Rangers, let me know, or let us know on Twitter at BottomLineWMCX, at the NVP Show. Use the hashtag #BottomLine. Don't forget to leave a voice message on Anchor as well. You know how to do that. And also don't forget to subscribe not only on YouTube, but also on Apple, Google, and Spotify, wherever you listen to podcasts. Just search for the Bottom Line Podcast, but please include my first name, Jimmy. Coming up in the next episode, we will finally talk some baseball and Cam Newton. Cam Newton's got a new team. If you didn't see the video I posted on Twitter at BottomLineWMCX, you can check that out. But I'll give my more in-depth thoughts. They will give his thoughts on who does this benefit more, Bill Belichick or Cam Newton? And is there a possibility he could actually start week 1 over Jarrett Stidham? We'll discuss it next. For Neil Villapiano, I'm Jimmy Fedizzi. This is the Bottom Line Podcast. See you in the next episode.